The Mummy is a 1999 remake of the 1932 classic horror film of the same name. It stars Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and John Hannah. The story follows a group of would-be treasure hunters as they accidentally unleash an evil curse that's been asleep for 3,000 years. This movie's a lot of fun. Let's get into it. The story is pretty simple and straightforward. They go looking for something good, they find something bad. So now it's up to them to stop that something bad. And that something bad is the mummy. They give a great flashback into his backstory. He was a priest in ancient Egypt who fell in love with the king's mistress. Once the king found out, his mistress and the mummy together both killed the king. She then kills herself with him promising to resurrect her. But before he could, the king's guards find him and capture him. And that's when they mummify him. And during the process, an evil curse is placed on him, and he swore to return and resurrect his love. I always enjoyed the villain in this movie. Too many times in a monster movie, the monster has no character. You know, it's just something that you can run from. But like the stuff he does actually drives the story. He's not just a part of it. A main point of the story is that he needs to kidnap Evie in order to resurrect his bride. He had motives, he had a plan. He wasn't just a one-dimensional villain looking to do evil. But beyond that, the story isn't really anything special. You know, there aren't a lot of surprise plot twists that you can kind of look for. It really is just a straightforward adventure. And a lot of what makes that adventure great is the characters. Brendan Fraser does a great job as Rick O'Connell. Think Chris Pratt's Star-Lord with a little bit of Indiana Jones thrown in. He was able to bounce back between that typical strong hero and a more goofy, lighthearted one without coming off as boring or like a fool in either one. Evie was great too. Rachel Weisz did a really good job. I really dug the fish out of water aspect to her character. Like for a lot of the action scenes and a lot of the, gun chase, she was more of our window into it. It's always fun to see that quiet character get kind of opened up and put into new situations and adventures and stuff. But that's not to say she was some type of damsel in distress. No, when it came to her work, she was brilliant. Most times she was figuring things out before anybody else. Her brother Jonathan, played by John Hannah, is really just kind of the comic relief. Besides being a wannabe treasure hunter, he doesn't really have too much of a character. He really is just here for the one-liners. I know what you're thinking. Those are some pretty basic characters. But the reason why it all works is because chemistry. All of these actors work very well together. You get a real sense that they've known each other for years in some cases. The Rick and Evie relationship did happen kind of fast, but it never felt forced or out of place. She was the quiet librarian who longed for a life of adventure and exploration. He was the world-weary traveler who had seen and done it all and needed somebody who could keep up. Opposites attract, and they were exactly what each other were looking for. Supporting cast is great too. Their ally, Ardith Bay, Benny, the backstabbing coward you want to see get his in the end. And you've got the Americans they meet on the ferry who end up joining the expedition. If this movie did one thing perfect, it was finding people who play very well off of each other. As far as direction goes, this film does have a few pretty cool looking shots. Never does it feel low budget or made for TV. It's never, here's a shootout for no reason because it's time for an action part of the movie. No, this movie really feels like a ride. And that's the best way I can describe it. It feels like one of those attraction rides at Disneyland, which is perfect because I always compare this movie to Pirates of the Caribbean. I've always felt like these two films have the exact same vibe. Just those lighthearted adventures that you want to keep coming back to. Like, if Pirates had came out in 1999, I guarantee you it would look something like The Mummy. On top of all that, you have all the beautiful locations they filmed in, the gorgeous sets they've built, the attention to details they paid with the costumes. It's able to capture that old Hollywood feel without looking like a cheap imitation the way Kingdom of the Crystal Skull did. It's funny without being dumb. It's scary without being a horror. and it's attention grabbing while still being simple. And that's exactly why I have to give The Mummy a B+. But yeah, I love this movie. Let me know if you love it too. Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and also check me out on Instagram too. Peace.